Alright guys, Vol here again. This time it's Kromac against Xerxes. This is Circle of Orboros against another Hordes faction, Skorne, and this is a 35-point game against Glenn. And I've picked this game because it's very representative of the many games I've been playing against Skorne. A couple of different guys, Glenn and Josh, both battling with their Skorne lately at various different points levels. And all of the games have been against Xerxes. I've played about 4 or 5 games against Skorne altogether, never against any other caster. And the thing about Xerxes is that he's a combat monster, and he's got a battle plan which he can give out to infantry, and you often see him with these Cetaphract dudes. Now, there are 2 types of Skorne heavy infantry which have the Cetaphract name, or Cetaphract, or whatever it is. There's the guys with the harpoons, and there's the guys with the shield wall. And so far, I've only played against the shield wall guys. Man, they are hard to beat if you circle. They're really high armor. They hit for a ton of damage, so you can't really kill and avoid retaliation. That's why typically my games have either just gone to draws because the game never ends. I keep running away because there's no scenario, or I lose. So this game, I'm going to try my best to do what I can. It's Kromac with my normal list. Just bear in mind that the miniature you see, which looks like a miniature satyr, on the right here, that's actually a Gorax. It's from Mike McVeigh Miniatures. And the feral warp wolf is actually a proxy for a stalker. Otherwise, what you see is what you get, especially my my special shifting stones. Anyway, next photo, you can see a sort of a zoomed out picture here with the wolf riders on the left. They're planning on running through the forest. He's got a solo there in front of the forest, which he's planning on using against me, but I have prayed that particular solo to try and kill it. Next, a closer look at Xerxes. Now, this is a very much infantry-reliant list. He's actually got 2 units of these Cetaphract dudes. He's got Vorkesh, who's the one that gives him Spell Ward, which I find really annoying when playing, using Mosar, because he can't, Curse of Shadows the enemy guys. He's got, I think, 2, maybe 3 Basilisks, which are even more annoying because they get rid of, they boost defense against range, which means the Wolf Riders can't sort of do the hit and run so effectively. And just in general, Xerxes is pretty comfortable with his fury. Once he gets into combat, his friends just start clobbering him, and his feat is going to be very powerful as well. Next photo, I go first and move up my dudes in front of the forest. The game plan here is just going to be to bring him into the forest, hopefully disrupt his forces a bit with line of sight and movement, and then attack, throwing in like 1 wave of guys, possibly 2 war beasts plus the wolf riders to do as much damage as I can. He'll retaliate and kill them, and hopefully I'll have brought my guys close enough to get an assassination in on Xerxes. That's about the best I can come up with. If you guys can think of a better way of beating the Xerxes infantry list with my collection of models, all good. Next photo, the Wolf Riders moving into the forest. The plan, well, actually, what they've done is they've assaulted the solo. They sent in foolishly to go at them. I mean, these guys are great against solos like that, so they just got rid of him and moved back into the forest. Next image, we've got Xerxes again moving up front here, pretty much keeping everybody in shield wall and putting up the auras with the Basilisk Animus, and that's about all he does in his turn here. So next image, I'm just really camping out and waiting. You can see I've got my shifting stones in a position where I can get as many of my models in between that triangular arc as possible. So if he moves everything right in front of my guys, I can then teleport somebody over top, maybe if he's left a gap for Xerxes, but really doubtful. Really just a way of giving me more options here at the end of the day. So next image, a bit more of a zoomed out one. I used the Wolf Riders at this stage to move forward and throw javelins at one of the Cetaphract dudes. Rolled extremely well with my dice and actually killed one with the Wolf Rider shots and then moved back to safety. So that was actually a big bonus, but in the meantime, he's moved into the forest there. So next photo, in one of his turns following, he's moved as follows. He's moved some of the guys to the edge of the forest. He's kept some in the back behind the forest. So I think this is the best opportunity for me to strike. If I can charge in here and kill the front row of guys, that will sort of slow him down at the back, and he may have a bit of a traffic jam getting the right models in. He won't really be able to charge through the forest as effectively. So that's going to be the plan there. Next image, I send in my first wave. I've got the pureblood warp wolf and the gnarled horse satyr, both with the primal animus on them, and an inviolable resolve on the satyr as well. The wolf rider's moving in onto the flank, and in this turn, rolling sub-average dice, killed maybe 2 models. Oh, the Gorax is in there as well. I think I got 3 models in the end, 3 of the infantry. But in his turn, he's probably going to either feat or whatever, and just kill everything. And all I'll have left is my Stalker and Kromac. And if he moves Xerxes into combat with any of these guys, I should be able to be in range to actually retaliate. So what he does is, in the next photo, in the next turn, he moves Xerxes in to attack the Gnarlhorn, which is pretty daredevilish. If you look in the middle of the photos, there's a model with the X marked on his base. That's Xerxes, and he clubs the Gnarlhorn brutally and eventually kills him. And pretty much everything else dies. I think the Pure Blood might have survived with a couple of boxes left, but he frenzied anyway, doing very little damage. So in the last photo, I move in with both the Stalker and Kromac in his beast out form and killed Xerxes. And Xerxes didn't have any fury at the end of his last turn, so really just a misplay by my opponent, I think. The correct move from Skorne here would have been to keep Xerxes back, allowed the infantry to do as much damage as possible, and even if that didn't mean killing the first wave of war beasts, it would have meant that once either Kromac or the Stalker committed, Xerxes could have come in and attacked and kept some fury on him, and probably would have survived, to be honest. So that would have been a better move. But if your opponent leaves your openings, makes mistakes, it's possible to beat the sort of list. But just in general, Circle has a really hard time. I think if you're really planning to build everything around this sort of list, you want to have just the right sort of war beasts and everything. And gosh, I don't really know. I mean, Skorne's really hard to beat. I mean, normally there'd be a scenario sort of where you can sort of try and get them off objectives and stuff, or use really tough things of your own, maybe Skinwalkers, I'm not sure, or special kinds of spells if you've got access to them. But just, yeah, I mean, maybe a Stalker with Primal and Berserk, chopping them down is one way to do it, but maybe you need more than one. At any rate, a bit of a tough matchup, but if you can find a way to actually make them overcommit and kill the caster, it's always going to work out. Well, that's it for this time. See you guys on my next bad rep.